Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Welcome everyone to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. This is part of obviously a larger organization. It's an international society that was founded by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who you see sitting here on this seat called the Vaisesika, as a representative of the tradition and the way it's been passed down over generations. Nothing in the teachings or in the practices that we have here is concocted. It is all pursuant of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam and other literatures which were established by great teachers. So when you walk into a science class, the professor will not say that I've created a new methodology for science. He or she will refer to the previous teachers. Do you find that to be the case in your classes? And it's similar in this organization. One of the main practices for spiritual realization is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva is the speaker of the Bhagavatam, and the listener is Parikshit Maharaj, who was king, who was about to die and wanted to utilize his last few days. He had 7 in all, according to a prophecy. And what should he do at the time of death? It's a big question. So Shukadeva was teaching him, and he said the most important thing that you can do at the time of death is to remember Narayan. Narayan's the name of God, Krishna, who has a specific form and name, qualities, and so forth. So there is someone to remember, to think of. But how would one do that? And Shukadeva Goswami says that the vetted process for doing that is to chant the names of the Supreme, the names of Krishna. Etan nirvidyamananam ichatam akuto bayam yoginam nripaniritam harer namanu kirtanam. That's the verse that I just referred to, where Shukadeva is telling Parikshit Maharaj that there's a process which is nirnitam, which essentially means that it's been vetted and that everyone agrees on this. And he says, whatever position you're in, it'll work. If you're royalty, anybody in here royalty? And if you're etan nirvidyana ichatam kutobayam, he said doubtlessly it'll be successful, and also fearless. It's a fearless method. You don't have to worry or be afraid. Yoginam, if you're a yogi, any yogis in here? Only one yogi, and she was a little afraid to put her hand up. Is it okay to be a yogi? Nripanirnitam, if you're a yogi, you're a king, or anybody else, this process will work. He's saying it's an omnibus process that will be effective for anybody in any place at any time. And the teaching of the Srimad Bhagavatam is over 5,000 years old. And then 500 years ago, Krishna, who's the Supreme Personality of God, had appeared again in the world to give more practical example, a practical example about how to perform the kirtan, how to perform the chanting. There were other teachings in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna gave. One of the most amazing ones is an offer that if one understands, one would not want to refuse. Shall I say what it is? Yes. Shall I give you an offer you can't refuse? Yes. Okay, so Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masuja. So we were having a discussion on Saturday about the ways in which when we work in this world, we may do things even by mistake in which we get a reaction, a karmic reaction, which means if, for instance, if you do something to harm others, knowingly or unknowingly, then you have a debt. Like, let's just say you accidentally crush somebody like a little ant, and you didn't even know you did it, still there's a reaction for that. And in the ancient system of the Vedas, when people were very aware of the fact that moving around in the world, we could, just by the ways that we lived, even if we live simply and we live carefully, you could kill other living beings. For instance, as is described in the Vedas themselves, when you pour water, there are living entities you can't even see and you're killing them. When you light a fire, people used to light fires a lot more than we do now. Of course, we have our more contained version with stoves and so forth, unless you're extremely unlucky and you ended up with electricity, an electric stove. I'm not biased or anything, actually I am. And then walking is a hazard. And I notice it all the time in my garden. Whenever I'm walking early in the morning, pacing, I'll see snails, slugs, all kinds of living creatures who are migrating across the path. And who knows how many times we might accidentally step on them. And then, of course, there's breathing and water. Oh, and grinding. Especially people used to grind spices and in the process of grinding. So these 5 ways are mentioned in the Vedas in which you might accidentally kill living beings. And then there were ways in which to counteract that. They were called the Pancha Yagya. The Pancha Yagya included various ways you were supposed to live in order to do some pious work to counteract the accidental bad karma that you were creating. One of the Pancha Yagyas was, almost ironically, performing a fire ceremony, because through that one makes some sacred connection with the Supreme. And another one is to welcome guests. Whenever guests would come, you're supposed to take care of them, even if they come uninvited. Do you all like that when people come to your house uninvited? Well, the Vedic culture was such that if somebody came uninvited, you weren't expecting them at all, you would immediately drop everything and make sure you take care of them, because they were considered to be a manifestation of the Supreme. And then there was a way in which whenever you cook, for householders, you're supposed to feed everybody, not just your family, but you cook more. And in some places, it's described how before you eat your meals, you should go out and call in 4 directions. If anybody's hungry, please come and eat. And then people would, if not somebody was nearby, they would come and eat. Or if you see other living creatures, like here in California, we have the squirrels. And Oh, there's lots of other little creatures, birds and so forth. You're supposed to feed them. And in this way, there are these various sacrifices that you would perform in order to counteract the incidental karma. And just living in this world, as we discussed the other day, is you can't live except at the expense of others. Now you buy a new home, you just took over somebody's territory somewhere. It used to just be hills here, but now, Fox used to live there, and now he doesn't have a little hole to go into at night. He's got to go somewhere else. So that's just the way the material world is. So it's said that souls that are in this world have been here since anadi, which means since a time without beginning. And the way Prabhupada explains it is it's not something that you can trace out. Therefore, we say without a beginning. And in the course of one life after another, there's an accumulation of this kind of karma that is manifest in various ways in our lives, not the least of which is we get a material body. And it becomes very difficult to counteract because it stores up. Like nowadays, people usually keep a lot of stuff in their homes because there's a lot of stuff to be had. Isn't it? Do you have any stuff? Yes. Where do you keep it all? Like you can't have everything, where would you put it? So if you have too much in your house, does anybody have too much in your house? And then what do? You get a storage locker. I see people, they even get a pod where they bring this thing and park it on your lawn. You put as much stuff in it and they put it somewhere else to get it out of your way, but it's still there somewhere and you're paying rent on it. Karma's like that. We have so many reactions saved up that we have to pay for it. It's like cosmic debt to pay for. And you can't pay for it all. You don't even know where it all is. When we come into the world, we're not even sure how much karma there is, but you can't get rid of it just by doing a few little counteracting activities. It's a weird way to say it, but in any case, that's what came out. And piecemeal, you can't deal with it. So there has to be, in order to live a happy life, in order to rise above the encumbrance that's caused by having this debt, we have to have a macro solution, not just micro solutions. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita gives them this macro solution. And if you believe the Bhagavad Gita, and you believe that it's spoken by God, which Prabhupada recommends that you do, even if you don't believe in God, he says, while you read this book, just suspend that part of your psyche and put it on the shelf. Just say, for the sake of reading this book, I'll accept that Krishna is God. It's kind of a trick. And when you read it, then you come to a point near the end of the book. It's 18 chapters, and the 18th chapter has, what is it? How many verses altogether? 78? 70? Is there a dispute? I'm just asking about the 18th chapter. 78? Is that your final answer? Hare Krishna. And so it's number 66. That's pretty near the end, isn't it? And then Krishna pulls this out at the very end after giving so many instructions. And he says, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tong sarva papebhyo mokshayishami masucha. So let's think about it. Sarva dharman parityaja. There are many different dharmas that we have. Special duties according to our designations. If you're born into a society in the Vedic culture, then according to your qualities and your tendency to work, you would have a special way to excel in that. There are lots of vocational training. And they would cut right to it, starting from as early as possible to train everybody in that. And then you would have a special duty as a teacher or as a protector, early responder. Then there were producers who would produce food for others and take care of animals, especially the cow. And then there were others who were expert at doing tasks that other people either weren't inclined to do or didn't know how to do. We lack those people nowadays. I find sometimes in India, if I want to fix something, like my umbrella, I have this umbrella to keep the sun off me. I've had enough for one lifetime. Grew up in California. And it broke. And so Sudhir Madhava Prabhu said, "I'll fix it." And he just came back and it was fixed. I said, in America, they would have said, "Throw that away, we'll get you a new one." But in India, he came back and said, "They didn't fix it. I don't believe it." And I opened it. It was fixed. And he said, "Who did it?" And said, "It's a guy at a shop. He can fix anything." Of course, Chakadola can do that too, but you got to find Chakadola first. So there are people that could do all these things, and they have a specific duty to do, a lane that they run in. And you have your duties according to that, your varna and ashram in your life. Ashrama means in different segments of your life, there are protective measures so that you can really concentrate on what's most important at that phase of life. And the ashrama system starts off where you're protected so that you can study, learn, be really prepared. And then there's a time in which you can maintain a household unit and a family, and then a time at which the husband and wife, other family members start getting used to more engagement in spiritual life and detachment. And then there's the end point, which is all important, and everyone can really be prepared for leaving the world and not pretend like it's a big surprise at the end. So there are many dharmas to perform and many specific duties within the system I'm describing, varnashrama. And Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja. Basically saying, forget all these various duties that you have. Mamekam sharanam braja, and just take shelter of me. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. So sarva means all, and pap means the bad reactions you get from karma. So sarva means all, and pap means I'll take away all of that reaction. Whereas previously people would try to do it piecemeal and they'd counteract, but you'd only deal with one tiny incident, and it would be very difficult to undo all of the ways in which one was implicated in the world. And that's also described in the Srimad Bhagavatam by a metaphor in which it says that the karma and its reaction becomes so complicated, it's like when you get tangled. If you ever get string tangled? If you've never had the experience, I'll give you a brand new Brahman's thread. Because you have to have an IQ to open these things. I don't know how I got mine open, but they come sort of rolled up. And if you're not really careful, if you're in a hurry or it's a little dark and you don't have your glasses on, forget it. Once it gets tangled, it's finished, unless you get Chakadola. And then, so life's like that too. It's very tricky. You try to fix one thing, it gets tangled onto itself. And pretty soon, it's like you have a billion of these Brahman's threads all tangled up. So the Bhagavatam said there's one fell swoop, like a sword cutting through, like the Gordian knot example. Who was it who cut the Gordian knot? There was a famous personality. The Gordian knot was a challenge. Who could untie it? They would become, or undo it. And there was a challenge, and maybe it was Alexander the Great, and he came and he just took his sword and cut it, and everyone's like, hey, wait a minute, we never thought of that. So the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita says there's a way in which to become freed from this labyrinth, the tangled mess, which is impossible to undo by oneself. Even if you had millions of lifetimes, you can't undo it, nor can you repay it. So Krishna says in this offer at the end, Sarva Dharman Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Braja Aham Tvam Sarva Papibhyo. Means all. Means all the different types of karma, all the way up to the present karma that we have, this material body. Sarva Papibhyo. All. Nothing's left out. And too bad Shastra Sar's not here. Sarva Papibhyo Mokshishami Masuchaha. And Krishna is saying, don't worry about it. If you come to me and you do devotional service, which means it's a simple thing. It's not hard, it's simple. And I've been thinking more and more about this. It's called Occam's razor. Occam's razor says that the simplest solution is usually the best. The solution with the fewest assumptions is usually the right one. The assumptions get you every time. And so this is Occam's razor. It's the simplest solution. I think if you have come to the end where you realize that you can't figure it out yourself, which Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Jamanamante, Gyanavamam Prapadyate, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlava. He says, some people, life after life, they try to figure out the Rubik's Cube of their karma. And it's a Rubik's Cube that nobody can solve. And people do it life after life after life, and I'll do it myself. That's the Jnani approach. So he says, Bahunam Jammanam Ante. Ante means at the end of Bahunam, means millions and millions, many, many. Janmana means births. So one may try to do this to solve the puzzle of life over and over again in many, many lives. Bahunam janmanam ante gyanavam mam prapadyate. Then there's a time at which one comes to the end of one's string. Did anyone ever use that metaphor? I'm at the end of my string. Pretty common in America, right? It means you've used up all your other options. That's it. And prapadyante means, and it's a happy day when you figure out, I can't do it myself, therefore I'll just bring it to Krishna. I'll offer it to Krishna and say, I can't do this. I surrender to you, please help me. So then, what happens then? Vasudeva Sarvamiti, just leave everything to Krishna. I can't figure it out, haven't been able to do it in many lifetimes. So I bring it all to Krishna, I say, you please help me. Vasudeva Sarvamiti, he's everything. And then Krishna says, that person has become a great soul. Simple, right? You just give up. I can do that. So a lot of times when I feel completely frustrated, did it ever happen to you? Feel like overwhelmed, frustrated, it's like, And then you say, all right, I'm going to start over. I'm going to pretend that, anything I did or didn't do in the past, it's just, I'm starting over fresh, and okay, if it was good, bad, whatever, I don't care. I'm starting over today fresh. And that's the feeling of taking to this devotional service, which is a very simple thing. It means I can't do it myself. I give it to Krishna. I give up. And I'm going to start over. All the other ways I try to figure it out are not viable at all. I've decided that. And then Krishna says, if a person has that attitude, that person is a great soul. And is also very rare. It's rare because most people want to keep trying. You try every kind of self-help book, Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There are so many philosophies, ideas, ways in which you can position yourself. In the Vedas, there are a lot of teachings that say if you worship a particular deva or an empowered being, then you'll get a certain kind of power. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, don't worry about all that. He says that this is hritta jnana. You've lost your mind thinking that you're going to find some help here in the material world from some powerful entity, because they're also consumed by the material world, the material energy, and they can't overcome it either. So just bring it to Krishna, and if you understand who Krishna is, he's the one who controls even the material nature. So in another statement that's very similar, Krishna says, Daiva hi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mamevaye prapadyante. And this means that the material world and the energies and the way it's working, it's also divine, because it comes from Krishna. And he says this illusory energy, Maya means illusion, that which is not. It's very nicely explained by Prahlad Maharaj as a mirage. When you see water, but it's not actually there. You may chase it, but you're not going to get anything. So Mama Maya, this illusory presentation of reality, which is just a reflection of reality, Duratyaya, this may make us feel better. Tell me if it makes you feel better. He says it's very difficult to deal with. Have you ever found it difficult to deal with? Yes. I just notice how everything breaks eventually. Even stuff that shouldn't break. You get it new from the store and then it breaks. Or you're just fixed everything else and then something else breaks. Mm-hmm. There's an old song about that. Howlin' dog howlin', bullfrog croaking, everything is broken. And so that's duratyaya. It's very difficult to fix the material world so it'll stay put. You fix one thing, the other thing falls off. Same with your body. You get everything together, your teeth are all working now, and then it's your foot. And that gets fixed, and it's like, uh-oh, this test didn't come out so nicely. You're going to have to go on a diet, whatever it may be. There's 3 miseries in the material world that nobody can escape. That's duratyaya, very difficult. The 3 are called adhyatmic, adhibhautic, and adhidaivic. So adhyatmic means things that are caused by our own body and mind. And there's enough of those that I guarantee, and we can try it if you want, we could be here all night if we named even the A's, B's, and C's. Like name a discomfort or disease from the body that starts with A. Asthma. Huh? Acne. Arthritis. Alzheimer's. Anxiety. We go with the A's all night. It's just like those advertisements when they tell you the cure. And this is a thing also. Prahlad Maharaj says, believe me, the cure is worse than the disease. It's like, oh, get out of this through science. And then you get the scientists, they fix a nice little elixir to fix your foot. And then they'll advertise it. And the first 10 seconds is about how good you're going to feel. And the rest of the ad, required by law, next 50 seconds is a guy talking under his breath saying all the ways that it could give you an upset stomach. I can't talk fast enough. Maybe Armand can do this, but your eyelids could fall off and everyone will leave you and whatever. And at the end is and you could die. But it's available now for $4.99. So you can't counteract it. It's just part of the material nature. So that's the adhyatmic. And then adhibhautic means there are others. other living beings that are in our orbit that cause this problem. I see a few of you smiling already because you're already thinking of somebody. In fact, I was talking to a godbrother the other day because I was being slightly harassed by another godbrother in some way, and I was complaining to the other godbrother and said, I know you already told me that. And then he said, listen, it's inherent in material nature, especially if you're trying to do something. And everyone's, people are going to come along and say, oh, you can't do that. Or you're doing it wrong, or whatever it may be. They'll come and try to disturb you. This is adibautic. What to speak of all kinds of little critters who live in your body already or do come to visit the outside of your body and so forth. We could go on all night naming them. And then adidaiva means there are powers in nature beyond our control. And those do sheet back to personalities as well. And now, of course, there are extremes that happen in nature. Sometimes it's too cold, sometimes too hot, sometimes there's too much rain, wind, and so forth. And all these things are not something you can't counteract those. They come as part and parcel of material nature, and that's why Krishna says it's duratyaya. And then he again gives us the formula for overcoming it. He says, Mameva ye prapadyante. Again, that idea is just leave it to me. You bring it to Krishna and say, I give up. I can't do it on my own. Please protect me. Maya metam tarantite. So then he says, if you do that, you can actually cross beyond Maya, or the illusory representation of reality in this world. You can cross beyond it. And then you might say, well, what does that mean? What do I actually do? And in a general way, Krishna says in another place in the Bhagavad Gita, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuya yakalpate. That, okay, you surrender to Krishna, but it doesn't mean you become inactive. There is something for you to do. There are activities. There are 9 activities, general activities in devotional service, starting with hearing, chanting, and remembering. Whatever you hear about, and then that's what you're going to speak about later. Guaranteed. If you watch the news, when you sit down with your family, and everyone's going like, who's going to speak first? Then if that's all you've listened to, that's all you have to say. And then you'll perpetuate that vibration that is a kind of trying to scratch an itch, and it never satisfies. It disturbs like smoke, but it never satisfies. So if you hear about Krishna, then you'll speak about Krishna, and the topics of Krishna are soothing, and they're non-different from Krishna. And then you'll remember Krishna. It comes in a row. Hearing, chanting, remembering. And this is the beginning of devotional service, and this is the real meaning of how to cross over the miseries of the material world, how to conquer karma, or how to eliminate it from one's life. Also mentioned by Brahma in the Brahma Samhita when he says, Yastvindra gopa matavendra mahosa karma bandhanu rupa palabhajanam atanoti karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. That when you're doing devotional service, then automatically all your karma is destroyed. And by the way, because Shastra Sar just walked in, listen, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo. What does that mean? With an emphasis on all. All phases of sinful reaction destroyed by the process of surrender to Krishna in devotional service. And another very encouraging way to think about performing bhakti yoga or devotional service given by Kapila Dev in the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you'd like to take a month off from your work, Say yes. And stay home, but you have to stay home and read the whole third canto of the Bhagavatam. We should have a call-in sick month. Besides Kartik, that one's for free. And what are you going to do? Read the whole third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam in 1 month, 30 days. If someone could count the pages, we'd figure out how many you have to do, but you'd have enough time in one day, and Sanatana Goswami set the standard for us. Already he did it, so we can do it too. And in it, Kapila Dev says, in it means the Srimad Bhagavatam third canto, Kapila Dev says, devotional service and the way in which it relieves us of the material distress, adhyatmic, adhibodhik, adhidaivik, and all the karmic reactions that are stored up, is the way that the body digests food. When you eat it and you put it in your stomach, then your stomach automatically goes to work and it knows exactly where to put all the different elements it breaks down. Doctors? Where's the doctors in here? Or are we all engineers? You doing a double major? He's doing medical school on the side. Right. So stomach breaks down into what are the main elements it breaks the food down? Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Glucose goes one way up to the brain, right? And all the trace elements, they go to the right places. It's taken care of automatically. So when you do devotional service, said Kapila Dev, you may not even notice. Anybody eat lunch here? Yeah, it's digesting right now. And you don't know. And you know how the glucose is going to your brain so you can think. And the trace minerals are going so the synapses can be made, and everything's going on automatically. So Kapila Dev said, if you attend to what you're good at as a spiritual soul, which is hearing, chanting, and remembering, the devotional service, do that part. Leave the rest to me. I'll take care of all those pesky, sinful reactions that have been there since a time immemorial. And just like the food's digesting in your stomach, similarly, we'll just take care of those for you. And it'll all be done in exactly the right way. Therefore, the simple solution, again, going back to Occam's razor, the simplest solution is usually the right one, fewer assumptions, is to not try to solve our problems individually or piecemeal, but to take the whole matter. The whole matter means my whole life, all the hard decisions you have to make, the ways in which you have to deal with your body, mind, and other living entities. Just take it all to Krishna and say, I'll leave it to you. And that leaves us with a reasonable attitude that one then could hold throughout one's life. And the way we keep our attitudes is the way we'll go in our lives. And that is expressed by Brahma in one of his prayers, where he says that whatever happens to me from now on, since I've surrendered to Krishna, and I say, I'm giving my life over to you, and I'll just act according to your order, and I'll line myself up in that way. Everything that happens, I'll just consider to be the way that you're processing everything for me. And if something so-called good comes or something so-called bad comes, I'll take it as this is just the wheels turning of me getting purified. And I won't take anything any other way. That's just the way I'll look at my life. Not that I don't have any more stake in my life, in the world. It's all for Krishna. That's the feeling of one who's surrendered. It's a great relief. And then there's an abiding sense in which I'm describing from the verse that I'm quoting from the Bhagavatam, where Brahma is saying that a person who's come to that point, then processes everything through that lens, that whatever is happening to me now is Krishna's plan for me so that I can become more purified. And if one maintains such an attitude throughout one's life in all the different facets, then Krishna says, or Brahma says, that there's no issue about leaving this world, this body behind, and then assuming your original role in the spiritual world. Tenu kampam susimikshmanu bunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvag vipurvir viradam namaste jiveta yomukti pade sadayabhak. Sadayabhak means that you'll be an inheritor. And what will you inherit? You'll inherit the spiritual world. Because you'll already be part of it because of the way that you've positioned yourself in this lifetime. What do you think? Got one thumbs up, that's it. 2 thumbs up, 3, thank you. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, questions? Or, yes?
Hare Krishna. I had a question regarding the 3 miseries and was wondering how they were related to karma. Is our karma presented to us in the form of the threefold miseries, or are the miseries a symptom of human or material life and the karma is already separate and allotted?
Miseries for 500, please. So, yes, those are allotted. So if you gave away in charity a certain amount of money in the last life, depending on who you give it to, according to the Vedas, you can get better rates of return, literally. It's in the verse, Ayurharati Vaipumsam at the end, the last paragraph probably describes how, depending on who you give it to, you get a better return. But if you gave away a certain amount of money in your last life, and of course sometimes people wonder, well, how come that person was born wealthy? And they didn't have to do anything. It's because they gave away in their last life so that it's coming back to them. And of course, if I mention the misery part, then everyone will get upset. That part, it's like, I didn't do anything to anybody. So how do you know? Of course I've told this story ad infinitum, but there's a way in which when I went in to get my global passport, what's it called? Global entry. I finally wised up, didn't want to wait in line after a long flight. So you go in for the global entry and they delve into your past very carefully to make sure that you're okay. Trusted traveler. And we had to go up to Canada because we needed one for Canada simultaneously. So we had to go back and forth from Canada to America at Niagara Falls. It's only about a 5-minute drive. And we can attest to the fact that Canadians are much nicer than Americans. I'm half Canadian, by the way. So at the very end of the process, which took it took some days, actually. You had to fill out lots of paperwork. They had to photograph the irises in our eyes and yada, yada. So then we came to the last part, and they called me in a little room and said, have you ever been arrested? Hey, I was a kid from the suburbs. I really didn't ever do anything wrong, except when I joined the Hare Krishna movement. I got arrested so many times for being in public and distributing books and just chanting. You know, they arrested us for so many things back then because they're like, who are you guys? You're going to go to jail. So the lady asked me, have you ever been arrested? And she was looking at her computer. And all I could say was, probably. And then it started going through my head, you know, the different times I was picked up for this or that or the other thing. Again, not criminal activities. We're just trying to sell books or, chant Hare Krishna and we were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and then we'd get thrown in jail. So she said, you'll have to be more specific. And then Super Soul reminded me, it was a time in Chicago, and I won't go into all the details, but the fact of the matter is there was a case, it was adjudicated, but it was left open somehow. Somehow left open, some glitch in the paperwork. And it was paper back then, kids. There was no digital stuff. So she said, you got to fix that. So I called the police, not right then, I had to go home, all the way back home before I could get my card. I called the police department. I couldn't believe it. They still had it in a file. It was 40 years later. And I had to fill out more paperwork, and then they took it off my record because they did all their due diligence, and they said, okay, it was fixed, but it got left open. Then I started to think about the ways in which I didn't even know what I did in this lifetime. I can't remember. I just go along, la-di-da, living my life, and then someone says, hey, by the way, you're a criminal. And I'm like, yeah, I forgot. Or I say, no, I'm not. I couldn't have done anything wrong. I'm such a good person. It's like you forgot what you've done before, either knowingly, unknowingly, purposefully, or whatever the cause was. Still, there's a lot of legal work to be done here in the material world. Even when someone leaves their body, you got to spend years taking care of all their affairs afterwards, right? It's just living in the material world is extremely complicated. And so, what comes up in the next life, it is an account that is being covered because of my own actions. And what's the good of that? The good of it is that there's a way that we start to interact with the world when we become aware of what's happening to us, where we're sensitized. We realize that we're not the center of the universe, and that the way I interact with other people and with the environment, it matters. And it reminds me of something I saw once in a class about biofeedback, which was very popular in the 70s and 80s. It's a machine where they hook you up to, so all your biodata is being recorded in the moment, and then you can start to deep breathe and relax, and you'll notice all the little indicators start to go down, your heart rate's going down and stuff like that, or someone, hey, then all of a sudden your heart comes back up again and everything's moving. And the whole world is like that. We're hooked up to one of these biofeedback machines where we're getting instant feedback from our environment. If you get angry at somebody, there's going to be a reaction. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, one of his main messages is chill. Little jiva. Because the way you interact with the environment is going to come back, it's going to come right back at you. And then you say, well, I forgot about what I've done in other lifetimes. But there are different kinds of memory. I confirmed this with Vishnu Prabhu. He's a psychologist. And he said in modern psychology, they identified various types of ways that we remember, and one of them is an emotional memory. It's not remembering the specific details, but we start to develop a sense in our hearts, like I've been here before, I've done this kind of thing before, and we even develop predispositions. Chaitanya Charan has written about this in his books, empiric evidence of this, how from a previous life and the next life, it's a long story, but there are children who remember their previous births at a certain window of opportunity in their youth. And there's ways in which, tracing back to their last lives, they show the ways that they left the world in the last life. It leaves an imprint, not just on their mental body, but also on their physical body. And so we have that continuum, and the things that happen to us are directly in correspondence in too much detail and combinations and permutations for us to trace out. But it's all being perfectly administered just so that we can watch the biofeedback machine and then come to the point of, okay, dodged a bullet, of being perfectly in harmony with the world. And of course, the case I'm making tonight is the only way to do that is to be perfectly in harmony with Krishna, because he controls the whole world. Thank you for your question. I hope it helped. Okay? Yes. Rasa Sindhu Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. I've heard this instruction and this verse before, but there's something in me that is struggling with this verse today. And I wanted to be a little vulnerable and share. The idea of surrendering to Krishna and taking as the all in all. I'm trying to see it in the light of mental health. I've been working at my work, helping people out, understanding the makeup of the ego, and realizing how that comes up, and recognizing that a lot of people, they carry childhood trauma, they carry all kinds of things, and the fact that sometimes it doesn't get addressed, and then we have seen, at least I have seen some consequences within the movement, within the history of Hare Krishna movement, well, that they have not been handled. However, the instruction of surrendering to Krishna has been there almost at a surface level, but not at the level of the heart. And what I'm curious about, or what I'm wondering is, would this instruction matter if Krishna would have said it at the start of the Bhagavad Gita, as opposed to making it one of the last instructions, and having Arjuna feel his feelings, feel what happens in his body, feel all his doubts, and then come to the point. And almost being a little cautious around that, to not use this as a way to bypass that entire process of coming up where this is the ultimate realization, and it's natural, and rather than done in a manner where all those uncomfortable emotions are not handled, and then they show up in ugly ways. So for some reason, I'm having a hesitation with fully accepting it in the manner that this is all in all, without going through that process. And I wanted to ask to you to how to reconcile, or how to even approach as I think in these terms.
Sure. Yeah, it's an important question, because we have our spiritual impetus, and then we also have the delimiting factor of our bodies and minds that we have to deal with, and we have these two dimensions we're dealing with. Krishna has put it in the right place at the end, and we can observe, at least from the case I'd like to make, that it's in the right place because he develops a foundation for us, starting at the very first verse, to give us an idea of what is troubling us. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsava mamekam pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. There's a very deep meaning to the first verse. We're observing someone who's been overcome and sold themselves out to the idea that they can, and I'm talking, of course, about Dhritarashtra. He's trying to maneuver in such a way that he can overcome the miseries of life and enjoy the way he wants to, which is by letting his sons take over illegally the kingdom. And his psychological problem starts with this idea that these are my sons and the others are, well, who cares who they are? I have mine. Everyone else can go to hell. And it's important to start with some foundation. What's more, then, Krishna gives us one of the most reassuring looks into our existential existence, which I've noticed is extremely helpful, because when we broach the subject of who are we, and we come up with at least a theoretical place to stand, which is that we are the self that Krishna describes that is imperishable. It gives a sense of being able to deal with the external features that we have to deal with. Minus that foundation, no matter how many times we deal with the trauma and the other kinds of anxieties that we have in this world. I mean, trauma is more than anxiety. That's why they call it a trauma. There's a way in which it never comes to a perfect conclusion. There's always something else that's left undone. So Krishna's building this framework. He's saying, the reason that you're in this situation is because you have this false sense of self. And then there is a real sense of self where you can feel safe because you're not going to die, and you can deal with all the external kinds of things which you have to do. And then he gives the means in which to do that. He talks about varnashrama, for instance, which really is dealing with our present material condition. I have a body and I have a mind. How will I deal with it? In an appropriate way. I should be situated in the world in a way that I can handle, and in a way that I'm most productive. And that's like having 2 feet on the ground. Once you have your feet on the ground, and it's almost comparable to Maslow's hierarchy of needs that Krishna is doing. He's building this case throughout the Bhagavad Gita that now you have a place to stand, you have this sense of varnashram, and then Krishna also gives very philosophical understanding of why are things happening to you. For instance, Purusha prakritisto hi punkte prakriti jangunam karanam guna sangosya sarasadyoni janmasu. You have good days, good lives, bad lives, and these things are happening not randomly. That's good to know, because if things are happening randomly, then there's nothing you can really do about it. Right? No sense in even trying. But Krishna gives this very reassuring statement, Karanam guna sangosya. You're developing different predispositions for the material world, and you're getting overcome by certain circumstances, and there's a cause for it. And you can do something about it, and any self-respecting, self-help guru is going to say the same thing, right? It's like, unless you know you can do something about it, then what's the point of even talking about it? And it's empowering. So all throughout the Bhagavad Gita, he's empowering us. And then comes this statement near the end. He said, but if you want to take the easiest route, then you can surrender to me. Or it means take all of that into consideration. Obviously, everything he said is valuable. And then you have an ultimate goal, because we have to have the ways to deal with our vyavaharika existence, which is body, mind in this world, and everything we have to do to survive. And we also have to have paramartika, or the ultimate goal to be looking towards at the same time. Otherwise, you have a certain emptiness no matter what you do to deal with the ego and with trauma and everything like that. There's never a complete resting place. So that's the way I would construct it and explain how that you could come to that verse and feel that Krishna put it in the right place. Hare Krishna. Take one more question. And it better be good. Okay. Tadiya Seva is going to give a shot.
It's not a question, it's just a general comment. I just would want to make. The cause of suffering is avidya. Can we say that for sure?
Yeah, you can say for sure. I used to tell people that all the time. In fact, when I was distributing books every day, for at least a few years, I had a way of telling people why we were asking for a donation. And I'd say that we're helping people all over the world who are in who've contracted a very serious condition called avidya. And they go, oh, what's that? And I said, it's terrible, it's ignorance. And they go, yeah, that's really bad. Yeah, I mean, it's very simply explained by Kaviraj Goswami by Lord Chaitanya in the Chaitanya Charitamrita when he says, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakar Yavan Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Adhikar. And this is, he says that where there's the sunshine, there's no darkness. And vice versa. Where there's no sun, there's darkness. And so he said, Krishna's the sun. He's the light. And where there's Krishna, then there's no darkness. And so the simple process is to stay in the light of Krishna consciousness and come out of ignorance. We know that when we're having a bad dream at night, and then we wake up and we become cognizant that we're not dreaming anymore, and then the dream was a phantom. Have you ever had that happen? Just a few of you? Yeah? I have a recurring dream when I'm in anxiety, which is almost always, that I'm running for a plane, and I can't find my ticket or my bags or something like that. It's like, oh my God. And I'll wake up and go, okay, I'm all right. I can start my day. So, the material life is like that phantom. It's like a dream, and many places in the Vedas and the Bhagavatam, spiritual life is described as waking up from the dream. And just amazingly, we know when we're awake. No one has to tell you now you're not dreaming anymore. You know for sure. Isn't that amazing? We even know we're alive. We're like, I'm alive. That's amazing. And so that is the problem. We forget ourselves. And it can be moment to moment that we forget not just ourself, but we forget the source of ourself. When we forget the source of ourself, we also don't see ourselves either. And then it becomes a morass, and we're lost in that illusion, and we're not sure where to go, what to do about it ultimately. But there is a systemic way of dealing with it ultimately, which is to remember that Jiv Krishna Das, E Bishwas, Korleto Arduko Nai. I was just thinking about it, this morning, that I had a lot of things to do, a lot of people saying, why didn't you do this? You should have finished that. At least my mind was saying that. And then I got ready for opening in the altar, and I just picked up the broom. We always sweep the room first and, roll the thing on the rug to make sure there's no dust when we open the door. And as soon as I picked up the broom, I thought hey, I feel better, because I was thinking, just be a servant. Don't worry about all the different problems. Just try to do the service that you're supposed to do right now. And as soon as I put my hands on the broom, I said, I love you, broom. And and I started sweeping the room, and I felt like life's okay. And life's always okay for us. We don't die. We're always engaged. We always have service to do. And when we can know who we are and who we're doing service for, who's worthy of us giving our service to, then we come to Sarvadharma Parityajya. Krishna, I'll just serve you. How's that? Does that work out? And is it Krishna? Yeah. It'll work. So, thank you for your point. It was a point, but it's turned into a question. Yeah. So now we could try, because we're all together here, for a little Sankirtan. So Sankirtan started, and we can all go together anytime soon if you want to come to Srivasangam in Mayapur. It's the most amazing place in the whole universe. It's a place where the Sankirtan movement started over 500 years ago, and it was Srivas Pandit's house. And Srivas Pandit was married to Malini. And they had a little house. It was made out of simple materials, because it's mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat at one point that because they're having kirtan, it was disturbing the neighbors. Sure sign you're in the Hare Krishna movement. Somebody said we should throw their house in the Ganga and let it float away. So it was a simple house. And even today, it's a simple little place. It's almost like just two patios put together, and then there's a little hut with the most ecstatic deities inside. It has deities in which the the Madungas are broken. And then it has the deities of the Panchatattva. And this is the place from which, after having Sankirtan, nocturnal Sankirtan for 1 year, only select devotees could go inside this place, this house of Srivas, and then they'd lock the door. I don't know how they do it, but maybe they tie it up or something. And then they would stay inside the room and they would chant inside the house all night long. And the next day, they go to work or do whatever they were doing for the rest of the day. And they stayed there for 1 year, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after 1 year, said, now take it out to the streets. And you can go to the street corners, you can chant out loud. And then, that's when the cops came. And they tried to arrest him. They broke the drums. They said, you're going to go to jail if you keep doing this. The neighbors complained. Everybody complained. And then they had a civil disobedience. They went to the house of the governor and said, this is a bona fide process, whatever anybody says. And he got convinced, and he gave an edict that you'll be able to chant here, not just this generation, for many generations to come, under my family, and in whatever era it is, you can keep the Sankirtan going here. So we're really lucky. We live in a place where we can assemble and we can talk about Krishna. Nobody will bother us. And we can also go out and chant in different places. We just did it on Friday night. We went to Palo Alto and we just held forth. And we set up a little area at Lytton Plaza where we've been going for the last, how many years? Since 2001. How many? 23 years, thank you. And we had a Hare Krishna festival. So what we're going to do in here is just practice, and then so we can all go out and sing in public. Ready? Yes. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta. Just in time. Swami Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharya Shuklavani Paschata Deshika Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Radha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare So, we've been receiving a lot of angry calls lately. People say, how come you guys aren't having enough Hare Krishna dance festivals? I tried to explain, we had one on Friday. Outside, everyone could dance. People were dancing up and down the street, and they said that's not enough. So tonight, we agreed that we're going to really let loose. There's a Hare Krishna dance floor, Hare Krishna temple you can dance in, and we'll sing the holy name, and feel free to move with the music. You can put your hands up like this. Try it. You'll feel better. Just let go. Just let it all go and say Hare Krishna. So we're going to put away all the asanas that go in those boxes back there, and we thank the devotees who set those up. And then we're going to roll up this carpet. The ladies can stand over here. Gentlemen over there can have a row down the middle, and we'll sing and dance to our heart's content. Nobody can stop us, right? Yes. Okay, I'll see you back here in 1 minute and 32 seconds. Hare Krishna. Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. It's all you. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarne.
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarne.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya, Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Se Kaho, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath, Shyamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste, Namaste, Jai Gaur Premanand.
Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the Sunday Feast program at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. We're so happy to see so many faces here today. We'd like to thank everyone who joined us in person, and we'd also like to thank everyone who joined us online through Zoom. We'd like to thank His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu for giving the discourse today, as well as leading us with the Shainar, or the Kirtan today. And we'd also like to thank Geeta Priya for leading the Narshinga prayers. You're calling me. Is there anyone here for the first time today? You can just raise your hands. Okay, welcome. Anyone else? So many people. Thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions or anything that we can help you with, you can ask Sri Gopal Prabhu right here, and we'd be more than happy to assist you. With that being said, we have a few sponsors for today, and our sponsors are what make our Sunday Feast Prasadam happen. So the first one is Manish and Aparna, who are sponsoring on the occasion of their younger daughter, Misha's birthday, who turned 21 on April 19th. Are you here, by any chance? Are you here? Okay, you can come up if you'd like. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, everyone. And we are very blessed to have this chance to sponsor on our daughter's birthday. And we are very blessed to have her as a daughter. And we just seek Krishna's blessings to always be on her side and bless her always. And she just keeps on being a servant to Krishna and doing her duty willfully and lovingly.
Thank you so much. Haribol. Here's a seat for you. And our second sponsor for today is His Grace Anantanitai Prabhu, who would like to sponsor today's feast in order to request prayers from the devotees for his maternal grandmother. And I think you can speak more, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, and thank you. So my nani, or maternal grandmother, is in her last stages of life. So I was speaking with my mother. She said that, can you request prayers from the devotees at ISKCON of Silicon Valley? Because when the devotees pray, she will get spiritual credit. So she was telling me that my nani is not very much acquainted with bhakti, tradition per se, but if devotees pray, then maybe she can get another human life in the next birth and continue her spiritual journey there onward. So I would like to request all the devotees to kindly pray for her well-being and spiritual upliftment. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Maybe we can all just say the Maha Mantra together once. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Prabhu. And our last sponsor for today is His Grace Tulsi Vilas Prabhu, who's sponsoring, and Deepwita Mataji, who are sponsoring for Arjun's birthday. Do you...
Hare Krishna. I seek the blessings from His Grace Vaisesika Prabhu and all the devotees at ISV so that Arjun stays healthy and he becomes a nice devotee of Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. And next we have Sukeshri Mataji, who will be talking about the Sunday school.
Hare Krishna. So how was it yesterday, those of you who attended? We had our 21st annual day celebrations for the Sunday school and our first annual day celebration for the Saturday school yesterday. So that's why you don't see any kids today. They're all on a break. We don't have Sunday school today. And I'm here to actually announce the summer camp this year during summer from 17th to 28th June of 2024. We're going to have summer camp for the children. And You know, we always have some fun activities. Kids enjoy a lot. We have mornings are with, they learn. We have enrichment in math, language arts. We do Bhog Aarti together, and then lots of arts and crafts, baking they learn. They learn horticulture, lots of board games and all of that. But icing on the cake is His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhu is going to be here with the children. And many of you know who Gaurang Darshan Prabhu is. He takes online classes for the children from Govardhanika village. He is actually the dean of the Bhaktivedanta Research Center there. And he will personally be here to teach the kids from the books he wrote. So do not miss a chance. And we are actually opening up the registrations officially today. So register soon. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
And now Arman will be announcing the cooks.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Today's cooks are Siddha Katha Prabhu, Suvana Gopika Mataji, Ajit Arjun Prabhu, Niharika, Daneshwari Mataji, Paris Mataji, Ashish Prabhu, Ramana, Shaili Mataji, and Sham Sundar Prabhu.
We'd also like to thank our broadcasting team led by His Grace Charnamai Prabhu today. And with that, we'll go into our favorite part, the Prasadam prayers.
Sharira Vidya Bhagavad Sri Mahaprasad ki. Please come take a shot. Hare Krishna.